You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 65. Father-daughter date night, and we went to a place here locally where they do like pottery, on the wheel. Yeah. And she always wanted to do that. She's never done that before, and so I surprised her. I didn't tell her where we were going, and we got there, and she's just standing there and she says, "Oh, I want to cry. I'm so happy." And it was just so awesome to see just her eyes light up. You know what I mean?
To the yes.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Lazary.
And I am Bennett Tanton.
And tonight we are talking about trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. Before we get into this discussion, I would like to thank tonight's sponsors, brought to you by Audible.com. Now, Audible has over 180,000 titles to choose from every type of genre you can possibly imagine. From fiction, nonfiction, biographies, educational novels. There's just a plethora of great content out there. And it's really awesome is you sign up for a monthly subscription. It's very reasonably priced, and you get a free token. And the token is good to basically download any audiobook. And of course, a lot of if you were to just buy out of pocket, you're going to spend a lot of money on audiobooks because a lot of the really good ones, new releases and bestsellers, are going to be priced much higher. And so you actually save a ton of money by signing up for the program, because it's, what are you paying a month, Bennett?
I do the 2-book. So I think I'm paying 26 a month, 24, yeah. 26 a month. And I get 2 books. But the catch is with that is literally you can save, especially if you're getting new books, you can save like $15 a book. Oh yeah. Because the books that we're listening to, I mean, the good ones are going for, 35, 40, 45 bucks, per book. And if you're doing 2 a month, that's easy. You're looking I'm
at
paying about half price.
Half price. Yeah, man. So. Really, really good deal. So if you do not already have an Audible account and you're interested in this, I've got a special offer for you. If you head on over to changeyourpov.com/free book, you can sign up and you'll get 2 things. One, you will get a free token or a free download. So you can go through that vast library that I just mentioned and grab a book and try it out for yourself. And you also get a 30-day free trial. No strings attached, man. Just go sign up, try it for 30 days, get your free book. Check it out. I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving in the car, when I'm commuting to and from work. I do the dishes, I walk the dog, I cut the grass. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that I do, and I don't have a whole lot of time to read. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I'm able to catch up on a lot of really great reads. People often refer me to great books that they've read or listened to, and I add them to my wish list. That's another feature of Audible. You just search for the book, you find it, you can add it to your wish list. So the next time you get your new token for your next month's free book, you don't have to sit there and try to figure out, what do I want to listen to next? You've already got your wish list going, and you just download it and off you go, right?
Right.
All right, so check it out. Head on over, changeyourpov.com/free book for your free audio download and free 30-day trial. All right, man. Let's get into tonight's topic: trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. So Bennett is actually leading this discussion tonight. And I got to ask, where did this come from? Where's the inspiration for tonight's topic?
Well, I guess it comes down to the fact that I've been kind of down, I guess what you would call, some people would call it the hippity dippity path, and stuff with like therapy and meditation and yoga and whatnot, just trying to find alternative paths to help me with, issues that I have, and helping veterans that I work with daily. Right. So,
yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is you're looking for alternative methods other than pumping your system full of all kinds of prescription drugs.
Yeah, I'm actually off all prescription drugs at this point.
Nice.
And that's something that you and I haven't really talked about, and that I haven't really talked about on the air. But I am taking none, zero. And a year ago, I was on 4.
And don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not poo-pooing anybody out there that's on medication. There's definitely a time and a place and circumstances where that's required. But you know what? What I've found more times than not, and I don't want to take this conversation down the medication path, but a lot of times, folks, they get out of the military, they are struggling with some things. They go seek help at the VA or somewhere, and next thing you know, they're on a fistful of pills a day, and it's supposed to help them like get over, like it's supposed to help them out.
It's supposed to, and it almost becomes like a lifestyle.
Yeah, but it makes shit worse sometimes,
right.
And
unfortunately, I mean, no. And again, there's times you hit the nail on the head, Eddie, when you said they have their time and place at some points. And trust me, there's times when if I hadn't have been on meds, who knows? Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't control myself around my kids. I mean, just, not good. Right. So I needed something to take the edge off and things of those sort. And also, I mean, I get it. There's guys out there that, they don't want to be on the drugs, or they don't think they need them. But because their doctor tells them that they do, they kind of just go with the flow. And I do not subscribe to going against that in a hardcore fashion. But if you're going to replace the drugs, you need to find something to replace them with. And
it's not alcohol.
No.
Right.
So what I've replaced it with is frame of mind and routine and actual like meditation, yoga. I started back on a yoga regimen about, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And really that's when I came off my last med. And with that, I feel very focused and whatnot. So it's a matter of looking at it in a more holistic type of recovery or symptomatic, dealing with your symptoms and your issues more holistically. I'm not saying just stop taking your meds and then just, sit and watch TV. It doesn't work that way. I mean, so I do things like journaling and meditating and whatnot, and a little bit, and the trust, gratitude, and forgiveness go hand in hand with my meditation, because there are things I do when I meditate is I practice mainly gratitude and forgiveness. Trust is kind of a byproduct, but trust is an empowerment thing. A lot of people think that trust is earned, and I say that it is not. So there's a philosophical debate here when it comes to trust, but trust is a choice. It's not something that people earn, because if you want somebody to earn your trust, or you want somebody to earn, you know what I'm saying? Like if I said, Eddie, I'm not going to trust you until you earn it. Is that not the biggest load of crap?
Yeah, I think you should come at a place of trust until I do something that takes that away.
Correct. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like, it's kind of like the innocent until proven guilty, right?
oftentimes people will see somebody that's on trial and automatically convict them
And unfortunately,
in their
that's our
mind, right?
society nowadays.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's very untrustful and it's toxic, frankly.
It is, and it's yeah. We won't go down that road. But that's a whole podcast
It is,
episode by
but
itself.
what it really comes down to is that you can't control others or their actions. So
That's
requiring that they earn your trust back basically what you're doing is giving your power away.
Mm-hmm.
So trust does so many positive things for you, like relationship wise. And it makes you come into a relationship. If you just inherently trust people, when you come into the relationship, you never know. You could meet your best friend that day.
Right.
But if you come into it from a place of not trusting people, is coming from fear, from the side of fear and not trusting them, seriously, you're going to be freaking miserable. And when people look at it that way, or people hear me talk about it like that, they go, oh man, no shit. So maybe the reason my life sucks is because I don't inherently trust anyone or anything, even myself. It really is a choice. It really is.
Well, I think all of these, trust, gratitude, and forgiveness, they're all choices that we make, conscious or otherwise. They're decisions that we make within ourselves, and it's a state of mind, man. It really is. You can either, I mean, I do this at work. It's kind of funny. You can walk up and down the halls at work, and anytime somebody meets or passes somebody in the hall, there's always some negative comment like, is it Friday yet? Or is this day over yet? Or, it's, I'm way too busy. I'm swamped. Like, it's always negative. And so when somebody passes me and say, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? They will stop in their tracks and look at me and be like, yeah, like, you're kidding, right? I'm like, no, I'm having an absolutely wonderful day. And it just takes people, and I might not be, but you know what? It's a state of mind.
It is.
And it's like the slogan that we have.
Fake it
It's
till
like
you make it.
Yeah, it's that slogan that we have at Change Your POV Podcast. It's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than it is to think your way into a new way of acting. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And it really is true. Bottom line. I mean, think about what distrusting really breeds. Suspicion, paranoia, micromanagement. I mean, think about it in a business aspect. If you don't trust the people working for you, or you don't trust you know what I mean? Micromanagement, especially in managers, has to do with trust.
Right.
Micromanage, and a lot of times it's they don't trust themselves. So micromanagement and second guessing, if you want to put it into a business context, it's huge, or military, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bureaucracy, rules, sign-offs. It's the way that, like, it's everything that we hate about the government is all because of trust issues. Oh, I got to send it in an email because then there's a paper trail.
That's right.
Well, not technically a paper trail, but I love how people say that, paper trail.
Right.
At least there's a trail then, right?
Yeah, CYA, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's, thanks for the TPS report.
Yep.
Apprehension, fear of taking action without permission. What? Why should you have, you know what I mean? Who are you waiting for permission from? To take action. Skepticism, distrust assumes negative intentions. So if it's such a negative thought. So if you think negative, what are you going to bring to yourself?
Right.
Negative. It's the law of the universe. So you get more flies. Not that you want flies, but it's the old adage. You get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Right.
And this is such an interesting topic because it really is, I won't say woo-woo, but it really is about state of mind. And the reason I say that is I remember a conversation that we had not too long ago, And you made a comment about yourself, but I internalized it onto myself. And the comment you made is that you undervalue, you find yourself undervaluing yourself. You undervalue the worth that you have, the experience that you have, your capabilities. And you said that you need to really start to see and value the things that you are truly valued for.
Mm-hmm.
And that hit me. And so the very next day I went to work, and I got up in the morning, and I just mentally put myself in a place of uh of of self-consciousness about my own value. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
so the rest of the day, I basically, I found myself walking taller. My chest was out, like, not arrogant or cocky, but I was confident. I felt value in myself. I felt worth. I knew that what I was doing, with POV podcast and other things that we've got going on is making differences in people's lives, and it's amazing. And then all of a sudden, I start getting, I recognize somebody leaves some feedback on Facebook about, one of the episodes they listened to, and how impactful it was in their life, and the gratitude that they have for the work that we're doing. And it's just amazing how it's so much, it seems like there's more of that when you're looking for it than there is when you're not.
Well, think of today. What happened today that if you hadn't have been a positive thinker, or if you hadn't have just trusted in your own instincts, would the interview that we had done today, and I'm not going to spoil who it's with,
Right.
would the interview that we did today with you, one of your mentors and your idols, frankly, would that have ever happened?
No, absolutely not. And so for those listeners out there that might not be familiar with what happened, so Bennett challenged me and challenged me to write down 10 names of people that I would love to speak with, or to interview, or talk with. And so I wrote down 10 names, and they could have been people that, that I've met, never met, didn't matter, A-listers,
Just as long
celebrities,
as
it
they
didn't
were
matter.
alive.
As long as they're right, as long as they were alive. So I wrote down a list of 10
Only
names,
stipulation.
and then he had me order them from number 1 through number 10, like who was the top person. And the number 1 person, to bring this into context, is everybody is familiar with Oprah, right? And so the way it goes is your number 1 person is your Oprah. Everyone has an Oprah in their life that they would just love to meet one day or have a chance to talk to. And I use Oprah because that's just the main one a lot of people use.
Gets it.
Everybody kind of gets it, right? So I love Oprah to
like
death.
Entrepreneurs, most of it's Branson, like
right.
Richard Branson.
Right. And so I love Oprah. There's nothing against Oprah, but if I had a choice between my number 1 person and Oprah, like, I would rather talk to my number 1 person. And so I wrote these names out, and then I didn't know what Bennett had planned. And I presented, I don't know if I texted you, emailed you, whatever, but I sent them to you somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what was next. And you're like, okay, great. Now the next task is for you to reach out and make contact with these 10 people. And we are in the middle of doing an epic blog post. I'm not going to get into too much specifics about that right now, but I wanted my number 1 person, I wanted my Oprah to ultimately participate in this epic blog post, even though this person was way outside my reach. Way outside, I won't say outside my wheelhouse, but
your perceived reach.
Right, my perceived reach. Like if it were up to me, like if it were left up to my own devices, I would have never ever reached out or sent this person anything, because I thought this person is too big, outside of my league. Like this dude, like, he hangs out with much bigger fish, let's just say that, than me, right? Yeah.
Man.
So I was like, yeah, whatever. So I dug up this person's email address. I found it off of, I think it was his LinkedIn profile. It was his company email address. Probably went to some bucket somewhere.
Some random.
Yeah. Right? And I just basically said, hey, I would love for you to be a part of this epic blog post that we're putting together. with veterans, influencers in the veteran community. And I sent it off, and I even like sent it off like I told you so. Like almost, it was almost like with an attitude.
Right.
Like I hit send with a freaking attitude. Like, here you go. Like,
Right.
yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'll never hear from you. Like, whatever. And I just totally I literally, as soon as I hit send, I just forgot about it because I didn't think anything would come of it. And then like 2 weeks later, I get a response, and it's from this guy. And in the subject line, it says case number 25, whatever the hell it was. I'm like,
auto reply.
I'm like, oh God, I got auto replied, right? And I opened it up, and it wasn't an auto reply, man. It was actually from him. And he's like, you know what? I would not only like to participate in this blog post thing you've got going on, but I'd love to come on your show. And so
he calls me right away. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my, he's like a kid going to see Santa Claus, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so, yeah, we had him on the show. We interviewed him earlier today.
It's fantastic.
And it will be coming out next Friday. So episode 67. Look forward to that. I'm stoked, man. But you know what?
But it comes down to that you extended that trust first. You put yourself out there, and you were vulnerable. And that's what it's all about. Yes. And if you don't do that in life, you're going to be freaking miserable.
So really quick, there's this concept that I've been thinking about in my head, and I've been toiling around with writing a blog post about it, and I haven't even mentioned it to you yet, Bennett. So I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to tell you about it, and let you kind of think about this concept. And it was a concept that it just free flowing came to mind as I was listening to some podcasts about something. And I mentioned this idea to my son while we were driving to work one day, and he just kind of was dumbfounded for a sec. Yeah, man. Why not?
No, I think it's great. I think it's great. It's just I forgot that you guys carpool.
And we carpool because that's a whole nother story. But man, we spend a lot because I drove him to high school every single day of his high school career. I drove him to and from school every single day, and we listen to this guy's podcast almost every day to and from work. So my son is as stoked as I was when he found that I got to interview him. But anyway, so I explained this concept to my son, and afterwards he just was kind of dumbfounded, and he was like, yeah, man, that's interesting. That's a different way of looking at things. So this concept is called, and if I write a blog post about it, I'm going to title it. It's going to be called "The King's Coin and His Arrows." And if you will, for a minute, I'm going to take you on a really quick journey. And so I know a lot of people, I test their imagination when I tell these stories because sometimes they're a little off, but that's okay. So the King's coin and his arrows. So imagine for a moment that you have a king that's besieged in his castle. He's got a very tall castle walls, and there's a military force, an occupation force that has surrounded the castle, and they're made up, I think, of Romans, and they've got the great big broad swords, and they've got their great big shields. The Romans developed that I forget what it's called now, where they got the interlocking shields. The phalanx, right? And then they've got a way to cover. To put the shields over the top of them. Mm-hmm. So they got like frontal coverage and overhead coverage, and they're able to basically move forward, and it's a very effective tactic of its day. The only problem with that is if you are a Roman, soldier behind that shield of a wall of shields, and you want to move forward and break away from all of those shields, is very difficult to do, right? And so the concept of the king's coin and his arrows is this. So this king is besieged by this occupation force of this vast Roman military force, and they're all interlocked in their shields outside the castle walls, and the king tosses down bags and bags and bags of coin and says, I'm willing to pay, however much it costs for you guys to basically, not no longer take us,
Stop
under
attacking.
to stop attacking, right? And so here you are, you're that Roman, soldier that's behind this barricade of shields, and you want to break forward, you want to break free of those shields and put yourself out there and go and collect this coin and basically make amends with the king and say, okay, if we agree to this, then we'll back away, and you pay the coin. The only problem is, he tosses that coin out there. The only way to get to it is to break free from all of that protection of that phalanx. And as soon as you do, you are now exposed to also the king's arrows, right? And so that's kind of the catch of it, is the king has coin, but he also has arrows. And if you want to put yourself out, you have to put yourself out there if you want the riches. But by doing so, you also make yourself vulnerable for the arrows. And when you do put yourself out there, you do claim those riches. And sometimes you do take an arrow, but that just comes at a cost of doing business. It comes at a cost of putting yourself out there and doing something bigger than yourself. And it doesn't have to be business in terms of making money. It could be putting yourself out there and asking somebody that you thought would never give you the time of day to come on your show. It could be putting yourself out there and, asking somebody to participate or donate to your charity or your foundation. It could be putting yourself out there to, find out what other people in and around you and your neighborhood need. And you know what? It's scary because, you are vulnerable for those arrows. And unfortunately, there are assholes out there that will take a pop shot at you, and they will be haters. And you just have to recognize that comes with the deal, but you can't have those riches without being exposed to the arrows.
Very true. Very, very true. But it doesn't mean you can't wear armor underneath.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what it has to do with. And I think there's other tools, which I won't get into now, that help build that armor. So if someone does break your trust, that it's easier to bounce back and even forgive said trust breaker.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that in a little bit.
I mean, how many people do you know that hide behind the protection of the phalanx, and they're the first ones to pipe up and start casting stones at people that are actually making a difference?
Probably 90% of the people I know.
Yeah.
It's the majority of people in general.
Yeah, the Monday morning quarterbacks, right? The guy.
People don't put themselves out there, and they just don't. At least not their authentic selves.
Right.
They might put some weird, angry version of themselves out on Facebook, or whenever they talk, they're just too cool for school or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they're not actually being themselves. So trust, we beat that horse to death. And there's actual science behind gratitude. You know what I mean? Where psychologists and doctors have actually measured when you practice being gracious and having gratitude towards people, that it actually affects your hormone levels and your mood and the people's mood that you come in contact with.
Right.
People that regularly practice gratitude by taking time to notice and reflect upon things that they're thankful for, experiences that, experience with more positive emotions, feel more alive, they sleep better, they express more compassion and kindness, and they in the end, they even have stronger immune systems. Okay. Mm-hmm. And gratitude isn't just, you don't reserve it just for like momentous occasions, you might express it for receiving a promotion at work, But I'm talking about even being, having gratitude for that awesome hot cup of coffee that you have in the morning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, how many times have we been in the shit and we didn't even have a cup of coffee to be like grateful for? Or you're sitting there going, Jesus, I wish I had a awesome hot cup of coffee. So it's literally, it's something that simple, or a real cooked meal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Or having a hug from your kid or your wife, or a kiss from your mom on your head. You know what I mean? Or even a pat, good job, little Johnny,
So let me ask you, you were in the military and you've spent time away from home, away from family, and as have I, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing when you are in the suck, as we call it, and you're away from your family and you're away from all the, the creature comforts and all the things that we take for granted. And you're away from that for a period of time. When you finally get that back and you experience that again, it's amazing. All of the things that you find yourself grateful for that you just never even considered before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember,
absolutely.
I remember coming back from Iraq, and it's just every little, like driving down the highway and not seeing trash on the side of the roads. Like, I was grateful for that. Like, people, up, I don't know how it happens where you're at, but up here, especially this time of year in the springtime ish, there's crews that they adopt the highway or whatever, and people will go out there on Saturday and Sunday, and they're volunteering their time, and they're picking up trash on the sides of the road, and they're putting them in the little blue bags for somebody to come pick up or whatever. And it's like, I used to see those guys all over the place, and I never gave it even two thoughts. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But living in the nastiness and the shitty, just the god awful, like, oh my God, the way that people lived in Iraq, to come back to a clean country, I was so grateful for that. And it's so easy to take little things like that for granted. And it's when you wrap your arms around your wife and your kids, and like you couldn't do that for a year, and you finally get a chance to do it again. Like, just the other night, I took my daughter out on date night, per your recommendation from one of our 30-day challenges that we're doing on Facebook. And I took her out for a date night, father-daughter date night, and we went to a place here locally where they do like pottery, on the wheel.
Yeah.
And she always wanted to do that. She's never done that before. And so I surprised her. I didn't tell her where we were going. And we got there, and she's just standing there like, and she says, "Oh, I want to cry. I'm so happy." And it was just so awesome to see just her eyes light up. You know what I mean?
To the yes.
Yeah. And so I was just so great. I was grateful in the moment to be able to give her that, that time, that moment of doing something she's always wanted to do. And then while I was actually making myself, I don't even know what the hell it was. It didn't resemble anything that was useful, but I was having a good time creating it. And a lot of what you have to do when you're creating pottery on the wheel is you've got to apply your thumb and your forefinger onto the clay in order to shape it and mold it. And a brief moment, I remember looking down at my thumbs and realized how important having this appendage was in creating this piece of pottery. And one of my soldiers in Iraq was hit by an IED that was planted underneath a footbridge that blew down on top of his truck, and he lost his thumb. And Jay Fondren, who I interviewed, had an IED take him out as well, and he lost his thumb. And so I just remember, it sounds stupid now, but it isn't, man. I remember in that moment thinking how grateful I was to have my thumbs, because there's guys that I know that don't, and they couldn't do. I mean, they could still find a way to do what I'm doing just with other appendages.
Right, absolutely.
But you know what I mean? But they couldn't do what I was doing. And it's the little things that you just take for granted every single day. I mean, how many amputees do we know that just getting out of bed and going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, like, is an ordeal.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And because they've got to put on, get into the wheelchair, or they got to put on their legs, or they've got to literally, crawl or roll over to whatever they've got to
Right.
do, or have a bottle beside the bed that they use. I mean, just the easy thing that you and I take for granted every single day can be a monumental thing to somebody else.
So 2 things I want to take from that is, first off, and this is just a show of what you can use gratitude for, or things that you realize that you have gratitude for. Now, I bet you can picture right now exactly what your daughter's face looked like when she found out what you were doing.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I challenge you, the next time you get cut off in traffic, or you're pissed off at work, or you're pissed off at whatever, put that thought in your head and see how long you're in a bad mood.
Yeah, I like that.
You understand?
Yeah.
So it's what we call a resource. And people may have heard, they may hear about these things, but I'm telling you, they work. So again, I'll go into that again at a later date. The other thing is that of all people on the face of this planet, us as veterans should know gratitude. Okay? And we should be able to look at the little nuances within the world and go, oh my God, I'm grateful for everything around me. Right? But unfortunately, they don't in a lot of aspects. Okay? So it's a mind frame. We need to change the way that we think. Okay? And literally find the ways to reap the benefits of gratitude. Because I mean, you can, it's about thinking of new things to be grateful for every day. Because you can be, oh yeah, I'm grateful for my family. And you can be grateful for your family every day, day in, day out, week after week after week. But does that expand your mind? Does that keep your brain alert on fresh, grateful moments? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I challenge everyone out there to literally write them down. I'm not talking like journal, like as in like, oh, I have a diary.
Right.
Bust out a piece of paper every morning. Take 5 minutes. Even if it's when you get to your desk in the morning at work, or you get up and it's after you do a workout, or it's whatever. Take literally 2 minutes and write down 5 things that you're grateful for right at that moment, and try to make it different every day.
Yeah. If you look for it, if you actively seek things to be grateful for, you'll find them. Like last Monday, I did a post on my Facebook page. I went out during my break, and I decided it was nice outside. I decided to walk around the campus of my office building. And as I was walking out the door, I said to myself in my head, my little voice, right? I said, as I'm walking around campus, I want to actively look for 3 things that I find myself being grateful for. And it didn't take me long. I found 3 things. I walked by a very old house, and outside the house was an American flag was flying. And to see an American flag flying, posted on the house, on the side of a house, it means something to me. Now, it may not mean something to a lot of people out there, but if you've served this country and you've worn that flag on your shoulder, and you've fought, and you've seen your soldiers or friends, die and pay the ultimate sacrifice for that flag, then you know what? Watching that flag, blow in the breeze does mean something to me. And I felt just a moment of gratefulness. So I took a picture of it. And then I didn't walk, but maybe a half a block down the road even further, and I saw a couple of young boys out in the street playing basketball in the street, right? Remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
Playing basketball in the street when, like, you had no cares in the world, and that was just the only thing going on in your whole entire universe. And but I just remember back in my time in Iraq, and I never saw kids playing basketball in the streets. They were out looking to hustle to make money to feed themselves and their families. And I just remember thinking, man, how grateful I am to live in a country where you can be young boys and play basketball in the street, and that's all that you care about, and it's all that matters. And I took a picture of that. And then as I was walking back into my office after my break, I looked down into a potter. There was a planter that just had newly, freshly planted flowers that were just very, very bright and vibrant and just shining in the sunlight. And it just looked awesome. And I walked by, that planter, every day for the last week that those flowers were there, and I never noticed them.
Right.
Never bothered to even look down and even consider them. And because I was looking for them, it struck me. I was like, man, those are really cool flower. So I took a picture of that. So I took those 3 pictures, I put it on Facebook, and I said, it's Monday. When everyone else is bitching about it being Monday, I found 3 things in less than 20 minutes to be grateful for. And you know what? It's an act, but it doesn't just come.
Right.
You've got to actively put yourself in that position.
Now I can tell you one of the things that will bring, that's even greater than that, is to focus your gratitude on your relationships with other people, on top of things and circumstantial and situational things. Of course, we can be grateful for that, right? But the greatest proponent of our happiness is our relationships with other people. Let's be honest, right? People influence you 10 times more than the rest of your environment. And yes, you are a product of your environment, but it's mainly the people within your environment than your actual environment. Okay.
Right.
So it makes sense to think of other people as we build our gratitude, right? So, focus your gratitude on people for whom you're thankful for, rather than the circumstances or the material items. Just kind of exponentially enhances your gratitude, because then what in turn you should do is tell said person why you're grateful for them. So you're actually manifesting the actual gratitude in a real way. You're either saying it, send somebody a letter or an email to talks about how grateful you are because you never properly thanked them for something. Let's just say, you know what I mean? Or tell one of your coworkers that you really are appreciative of the work that they've done for some project or something. And believe it or not, that it goes such a long way in just spreading that wealth of gratitude and positive energy that you just can't even believe it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that person might want to go home and just die. Not that they're going to commit suicide, but right there, you could totally change their day and turn it around.
Oh yeah.
And the next thing you know, especially as a manager or as a leader in something, that's a way you inspire people, because you actually give a shit. Right. And I'm not saying just do it because I'm saying to do it. Do it because you fucking care.
Right.
Or at least tell yourself you do. And guess what? Sooner or later, you will.
Right. If you don't, you probably shouldn't be in a management position.
Exactly. And too often, there's managers and leaders that have no idea who their people are. They don't know whether they have families. They don't even know if they're married. They don't know their kids' names. They don't know all these things. You know what I mean? That shit is important because, again, our relationships have more. They're the biggest proponent of our happiness that there is. Period.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yep.
So there's gratitude. The last thing, and I think it may be the most important, is forgiveness.
Well, it's a good thing we saved most of the time for that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Sorry,
so
man.
Forgiveness. What is forgiveness? It's basically what it comes down to is the decision to let go of resentment and thoughts of revenge. At its basic core, that's what forgiveness is. Okay? Now, if you go through life being butthurt about everything, you know, just think the anger, the resentment, the thoughts of revenge, or just embrace actually forgiving people for their people are freaking human. And if you are one that doesn't make mistakes, whatever. Everyone makes mistakes. Okay?
Right.
So look at it in the understanding that, man, it might have been a bad decision, but it was probably a mistake. Right. If you do that and actually forgive people for what they've done, God, man, it's like it's like take off after a patrol or wearing a backpack when you've gone hiking and the mountains or whatever, and you just take that backpack off and you're just like, oh my God, I feel so good to do that. Or take your freaking, like a woman that's wearing high heels all day, to sit down and take those high heels off and go, oh, that feels so freaking good. Or like a hot tub on a cold day, or whatever. I'm shitting you not, that's how forgiveness feels after all is said and done. It's just like it's the key to happy relationships, greater spiritual and psychological well-being, less anxiety, stress, hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, stronger immune systems, improved heart health, higher self-esteem. And at the end of that, saying higher self-esteem, the number one person that you must forgive in life is yourself.
Well, and that's what I see, Bennett, is most people, I mean, forgiveness doesn't come easy for most, just as a rule of thumb anyway.
Unfortunately, it's against the way that our society kind of
right. But if forgiveness wasn't difficult in and of itself anyway, the ability of one to forgive oneself is probably the most difficult for most people. And I speak for myself when I say that. I do a very poor job of giving myself a pass or letting things go. I mean, I beat myself up over the littlest things all the time.
Let me bring up a point. So what does being unforgiving truly bring into your life?
It brings resentment. It brings lack of trust in myself.
Anger.
My
bitterness.
My confidence isn't as high. Yeah.
And it brings anger, bitterness into every relationship and new experience. Now, see, this is one of the things for me that's huge. You become so wrapped up in the wrong, right? That you can't enjoy the now. You can't enjoy the present because you're so wrapped up with some bullshit. Now, I get it. I understand if like you just got diagnosed with cancer, or I get it if your kid, just got hurt, or heaven forbid died, or some tragedy happens. I completely understand it, right? To be angry. But at some point, even with those gigantic things, if you don't move on, it's going to kill you. And you're going to be poison to those around you.
Right.
I mean, you're going to end up feeling like your life lacks meaning or purpose. You'll come to odds with your spiritual beliefs. We've all kind of been there probably, especially if we've had friends that have committed suicide, or just people that are close to us that have died. We've all, a lot of us have been there too. And you're like, why? What am I even here for? You know what I mean?
Right.
Losing valuable and enriching connectedness with others. That's what holding on to this unforgiving attitude brings you, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you reach that state of being able to forgive, and I'm not even talking about, standing in front of an actual person and saying, I forgive you. You know what I mean? Because that person might be dead. Or in turn, it might be you looking into a mirror. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
You need to find the value of forgiveness and its importance in your life at a given time.
Right. I struggle with, and I actually wrote a blog post about it, and it's up at Change Your POV. So if you want to read it at length, you can head over there and check that out. But I think the title of it was, Have You Ever Met What If? I'm more than 12 years out of my deployment in Iraq now, and I still, to this day, struggle with the questions that run in my head and my inability to forgive myself for certain things. And I always run these what if scenarios through my head. What if this had happened? What if that had happened? What if I had done something different? Would there have been a different outcome? I lost some soldiers in Iraq, and several others were seriously wounded. And I just, how weird is that to voluntarily sign up for an occupation where it's known that you will train to fight and destroy the enemy, and the potential of being killed yourself is a highly likelihood. And then when it finally happens, to still feel that guilt and resentment. It's just beyond me how that happens, but it does. And my ability to find forgiveness in myself, and the thing about it is I didn't do anything wrong.
No,
I know that, but there's an internal
absolutely,
struggle.
I've been there too.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is we allow either the people or the situations to have control over your life, in essence. So you've got to move away from your role as a victim and release the control and power that person or situation or event has over your life.
So here's what I struggle with, Bennett. I totally agree with you, and I think most people out there listening to this probably do as well. But what's where I'm stuck, and I think a lot of people listening are probably stuck too, is that sounds great, but how do we do it?
I'm telling you, you do it by having gratitude and practicing
how do you do
gratitude and practicing gratitude.
So maybe we should come up with maybe a checklist that folks can download to give them tips on how to approach these three things of trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. Because it's not enough to talk about this stuff. I mean, that's a start.
No,
we're
absolutely.
definitely talking about it.
And that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Because I keep alluding to, and I'll talk about that at a later date, because I'm telling you, I will give you guys the tools to do this.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's what we need.
And this is the journey that I've gone on, and that I'm on every day. So.
Oh yeah, this isn't a one and done thing.
No. This is a lifelong thing. But what it really comes down to is just allowing you to define who you are. You know what I mean? And not let what's happened to you or define you, or how you've been hurt to define you, or, and all these things. So at the end of the day, it's about finding the trust, the gratitude, and the forgiveness, which comes down to having a compassion and understanding for who you are and how you are a asset to this world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And truly at the end game is to knowing that you are, it's that whole Buddhist self-actualization thing. That's real shit, people. It really is. And this is all a path, and we all go through it. And you know what? It's not a straight path. It's a windy son of a bitch.
Oh yeah. And it's, it's the pinnacle of the hierarchy of needs, the pyramid there, right?
Absolutely. The very Maslow, baby.
The very tippy top is what?
Self-actualization.
That's right.
And
right.
and there's no guarantee that you'll ever get there, but
No.
damn, you might as well have
Hey,
fun in the interim and make an impact.
if you are consciously on the path to achieve that, you may not ever have achieved it in your lifetime, but you will be a better person for it being on that path, attempting self-actualization.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. Because if you're a miserable bastard who's going to want to be like, yeah, man, that was a great guy. I mean, think about it. I just think about the impact that I have on people around me. And
Mhm.
it's not a selfish perception. It's a, how can I help someone today?
Right.
And through
Do
that,
you,
you help yourself.
you know what? I heard a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember now who it was, but whoever the guest was on. It was a specialist of some kind, some expert, and this expert worked at a I don't know if it was a university study or what it was, but they did research on, like, they collected data from people like in hospice that were basically, dying or whatever, to collect information about what is like the
Oh yeah,
person's last words, so to speak.
there's a great book by an Australian hospice nurse. I think it's called like the hopes or the wishes of the dying or something like that.
Mm, uh-huh. I think it's something
Yeah, very
similar.
similar.
And that was kind of the research, is they were collecting information about what is it that people say, the last words that people say when they're dying, basically. And at the top of the list of things that people do not say is, I wish I made more money.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
absolutely.
Nobody gives a shit about how much money they made or didn't make when they're on their deathbed and it's their last few moments on this earth. That's not what it is. And I think the number one thing was something to the effect that they wished they had better relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's
They
what
had
it's all
spent
about.
they spent the time. They wish they had spent more time building meaningful
Well, it's
relationships.
like working so much at the expense of the family and friendships. Now,
Right.
trust me, money does make the world go round, but
Oh yeah.
it's what you do. It's what you do with that money
Right. But
is really what it's about.
But do you really want to be on your deathbed and your last and do you want to be on your deathbed when you finally realized that what you really wanted your entire life was to have better relationships and you pissed it all away
Yeah.
in in search of that high and
The
mighty
only
dollar?
truly finite thing that we have in this entire world is time.
Time.
So
Yeah,
if you waste it, it's gone.
right.
So why are you going to waste it being an untrusting, ungrateful, unforgiving dick?
Yep, that's right.
That's what this whole episode culminates into.
Yep. Don't be a
Don't
dick.
be a dick. And guess what? Because you don't have time to be a dick.
No, you're right. You
Unless
don't.
you want to be, that's what you want to be known for. Oh yeah, man.
Right.
That dude was a dick. We all have him. Everyone knows
Right.
that guy. Man,
Oh yeah.
what a dick that guy was.
Yep.
Do you
You're
really
right.
want to be that guy? So, you can hippity dippity, and be like, oh man, this dude's crazy. What the fuck is he talking about? Or you can actually try what we're talking about. And hey, man, it just might freaking work.
It
Because
might
if
just
you're
work.
freaking miserable, anything's better than that. So
Right.
have fun.
Everyone is given the same 24 hours in a day. How do you choose to spend yours? Right?
Not as a dick.
Not as a dick, not a hippity dippity dick.
Yeah.
Anyway, right?
Hippity dippity dick.
All right, man, dude, we are out of time.
Big time. We're out of time.
This has been a great conversation. I love this topic. We could break this down, but I really think we need to get into some actionable stuff in terms of,
Yep.
what steps do we take if people that have never done this before, like, where do we start? How do we do it, and how do we progress forward? Because this is a teachable
Right.
skill,
One of the
right?
things, yes, one of the things that I can really say is to go to shit. You could even go to Warrior Hall and do it and find it and sign up. Well, or just type into Google, type in 6-phase meditation, and a guy by the name of Vishen Likiani will come. I know, what a name, right? But it'll come up. It's through an app called Omvana, and he will actually take you through a 6-phase meditation that talks about all of this. But he'll give you examples of what to think about and what to kind of strive for.
Okay.
And that can be a place for people to start. And I know I've talked about that in the past.
Yeah, you have. And I think we even linked to it once.
I think you're absolutely right. But I'm telling you, I have yet to find a better tool, at least that works for me. Everyone's different. So get out there and seriously look it up.
Yes. Well, will send me the link and I'll have it in the show notes.
Sure.
So that will.
And I will, literally go to your, whatever, phone you use, whether you have an Android or a Apple, and go to the App Store and type in Omvana, and the app will come up. Download.
How do you spell that?
OMVANA. Omvana.
Omvana. Okay.
And it will download the app and then look for the 6-phase meditation. It's free. It's completely free. And then put in some earbuds, sit down, and just listen and follow his instructions. All right. It's all right, at least the place to start. And if it doesn't work for you, I'll have some different things within the next 2 weeks.
Right. Okay. Very cool, man. Well, thank you, sir. Any parting words?
None.
Excellent.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
I guess none is not correct. Don't be a dick.
All right, folks, you can find everything that we talked about in tonight's episode, well, a summary of it anyway, over at the show notes page of this episode at changeyourpov.com/episode 65. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. And you know what? I haven't asked for this in a long time, and I figured I would do so in this episode. I would really love and appreciate if you went over to iTunes and left a rating and a review for Change Your POV Podcast. It helps other people find Change Your POV Podcast, and hopefully they will be able to gain some help and inspiration. And
do it, please.
Yeah,
please. We're asking you. We don't want payment for the show or anything.
No,
that's payment enough.
Yeah, if you want to give back for the free content that Ben and I provide, and the helpful tips and even just the ability to connect with us.
Take 5 minutes and rate and review the podcast.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. So, and if you don't know how to do that, if that's unfamiliar to you, then you can head on over to changeyourpov.com/review, and there is instructions on there that you can that I walk you through how to do that, because some people are not as familiar with how that works. Let me just really quick, Bennett, make sure that is the actual link, so I'm not driving somebody in the wrong direction. All right, folks. So if you want a quick screenshot tutorial on how to leave a review on Change Your POV podcast, I created a easy resource for you, step-by-step instructions, takes all the guesswork out of it, provides you with all the links that you need. It's very, very simple. I broke this down shotgun style for anyone out there that would love to give back. I would appreciate a rating and review. Just head on over to changeyourpov.com/leave review. All one word, leave review, and that will bring you to the page, and it'll show you everything you need to do. I would greatly appreciate it. And what I'd like to do is take some of those reviews that you leave and read them at the top of the show. So if you would like to be featured on the podcast, leave me a review and just let me know in the review. Say, hey, read this on air, and I'll do it. I'll do so. So it's that easy, man.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So you can contact or reach me directly by emailing me at eddie@changeyourpov.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV Podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.